All right, let's head out to that studio in the sky where Dan Ryder is on the line with us. He's with the Springfield. Is that right? The Springfield Cardinals? Did I get
Spring.
that right? Okay,
That is
good.
correct.
I wrote down your name and I wrote down the stadium, but I forgot to write down the city. So I was going off of my memory there, and I'm a little bit familiar with the sport of baseball. So let's set the stage here a little bit. And Springfield Cardinals, are you an affiliation of the St. Louis Cardinals, or are you kind of like where I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota? We have Northern League where it's the FM Redhawks. I think they're called something else now, but it's a more or less an affiliation through carry the one and dot the T and that kind of stuff. So, what kind of a baseball do you have?
Yeah, we're the AA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. So we're actually the reigning Texas League champions. So the players that have come through here the last few years have been extremely talented.
And you just explained how much baseball has changed. If you're the Texas League champions and you're out of Springfield, you're not in Texas. And then I used to follow baseball quite a bit because I played all the way, Albuquerque Dukes back when they were the hot minor league team for the Los Angeles Dodgers. My favorite team growing up as a child. Loved those series with the St. Louis Cardinals back when Oral Hershiser was a pitcher and that sort of thing. But what's your background in baseball?
Yeah, I've actually the team started in 2005, and so I was an initial hire. They were going
Okay.
to hire 5 sales reps, and I was fortunate enough to be the throw-in sales rep number 6. So I've been with the organization now since 2005, and then I've been the general manager now for the last 10 years.
That's fantastic. In Fargo, I mentioned the FM Redhawks. Their general manager, um, he's not there anymore, but Josh Buchholz was his name. He started out as a hot dog vendor, worked his way up there from an intern to just your same story, man. You just start off with playing a role player, and pretty soon, you learn this, you learn that, and you know pretty much every operation there is to know. And the reason that we're having the story here is because you've recently changed the stadium name, if my notes are correct, and it's Route 66 Stadium. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, we're very excited. Some very big news out of Springfield, and I'll kind of like I think you said the phrase earlier, set the stage. So Springfield, Missouri, is actually the birthplace of Route 66, and so there was a group of people meeting, and at the meeting, I guess the Colonial Hotel, which no longer exists, but they're at this hotel, and they send it in to Congress to say, hey, we think that this road that's going to go from Chicago to California should be called Route 66. And so that's where Springfield is known as the birthplace of Route 66. We've got a festival that kind of goes on every year. But actually, we've just been chosen. This is the 100th year anniversary of Route 66. And our community was chosen to be the national kickoff of that celebration. And so there's going to be a lot of eyes on Springfield. There's going to be a lot of national media. And so really for us, the excitement in the community has been growing. And really what happened was you paired that with the business side of it, where the naming rights was open. And as a community, we kind of had an idea to say, hey, instead of having one company or having like one person name the stadium, what if we took it a different direction and tried to name the stadium for the community? Like let's name it something that becomes a destination. Let's become something that people that are travelers choose to come by, or something that people want to buy a t-shirt of your stadium name. And so really the idea came really from the concept of, instead of naming it after one company, can we actually use the name of the stadium as destination marketing?
It's interesting. I got a couple questions for you based off of your response there. The first, I get to the stadium name in just a second here, but tomorrow, because we're recording this on April 29th, I believe tomorrow, April 30th, is the big party, right? That's the big kickoff when John Goodman is going to come and be kind of I don't know if he's the master of ceremonies, but he's definitely an honorary master of ceremonies, and he's one of the legendary actors from his role in Big Lebowski in my world, one of my favorite movies of all time. And he was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, another one of my favorite movies. That's tomorrow, correct? Are you guys a part of that? Are you
Yeah,
involved?
yeah, correct. Yeah, the whole national kickoff begins tomorrow, and there's festivities that are taking place Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so really that's the timing of us doing this was before visitors were here. Let's click off the stadium, and really that's exactly what we did. We had John Goodman as kind of one of the master of ceremonies. There's going to be a huge and he's doing that at the kickoff concert, which has got I think like 4 or 5 different like national acts that are doing it. There's a huge ball that they're actually doing, kind of like they're calling it the telegraph ball because the telegraph that was sent from Springfield to Congress to name it. So it's going to be a very
Ball like in gala, like in
yes,
a
like a gala, yeah,
like prom. You dress
like
up and
get
take
your gowns and
pictures,
get
and
your
yeah.
tuxes, yeah.
Me and a friend of mine were just talking about the rise of prom pictures on social media. How it seems every nonprofit and organization now has to have their adult prom because everybody wants to go and take their pictures and put them up on social media. And so when you said was it gala? You said ball.
Yeah, the telegraph
Yeah,
ball.
galas. We call them up galas. A lot of times those white black tie and white glove affairs, linen gloves, and that sort of thing. We call galas. And our charity ball was kind of a come as you are New Year's Eve ball for a long time. But I'm sorry, I digress here. The reason because of baseball, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't confuse anybody out there half listening to our interview, as so many people do, half listen while they're at work and driving and that sort of thing. But that's one of the nice things about audio, the way it works. But okay, the stadium name. Now, when a stadium changes their name, a lot of times, someone writes a check for it or they honor someone. And in this case, it seems like that there was probably some sort of honor happening rather than, like in my neck of the woods, 3M or some bank stepping up and writing a $5 billion check for the naming rights. Did Route 66 write a big check to get the naming rights, or is this more of an honorary thing?
No, this is actually a collaboration with our community.
Okay.
We actually had there's really when you look at our main gate, there's 5 pillars, and so we went to go find 5 community pillars that were believed in kind of the rising tide. And anytime anyone moves to Springfield, they talk about how we have just unbelievable collaboration in our business community between public-private partnership. And what we went out to do is that was a part of our sales pitch was that, hey, instead of me as my role as the general manager of the Springfield Cardinals, instead of me trying to go and just have this one company, what if we did this for our community? And really the thought process is that we host both the double A St. Louis Cardinals affiliate, the Springfield Cardinals, but we're also the home of the Division I Missouri State University Bears. And so really you have all of these mentions on television, radio, social media, and as opposed to having this like corporate entity, could it be repeating Route 66 Stadium just as a way to kind of be attractive to our community? And I think that's to me the coolest part about our naming rights is, to our knowledge, this hasn't been done before. And when you have O'Reilly Auto Parts, you have Mercy, which is a health system, you have Missouri State University, the city of Springfield, and ourselves partnering. It was really great to see that everyone kind of believed in the rising tide, and everyone believed in the benefit for the community instead of just the one name. And I think that's where this stadium, I think there's 2 parts of it. Is one is that it's just a really cool stadium name. And as much as you want to say it's just like it's a fun thing for people to come to, we have an amazing photo op that we set up at the main gate. And in addition to that photo op, I also think there's a business component to it that all of these groups collaborated for the good of the city instead of just one person wanting the credit for it. And I think that that's who Springfield is proud to be. We're proud to work with our neighbors. We're proud to be able to innovate and do something different. And I really think when you look at that innovation, the collaboration, and how we came with the name of the stadium, I think it's a neat model, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone else decides to follow. But I also think it takes a very special group of people to pull it off. And between O'Reilly Auto Parts, Mercy, the city of Springfield, Missouri State, and then ourselves, there was a lot of behind the scenes work that was done, but all of us had the same vision to make something great for our community.
I think it's fantastic because when I take a look at these stadiums and It's a gray area because a lot of times, you're talking about private franchises and private businesses, but it is a stadium and it gets used for so many community activities that most of the NFL and Major League Baseball stadiums now do have a public component attached with the financing side because it is so attached to the community. And when that happens, that's why I do like to see things like Route 66 Stadium happen, where it's not necessarily a business or even a person, because those can get political pretty fast. And when you're honoring a tree or a flower or a road or something that's, an inanimate object or not a company, that is more of a community support, in my opinion. And whether you're selling a pillar for X amount of dollars or selling individual bricks for trying to nickels make dollars or 50 cents makes dollars. Either way, you're out selling more than just the dollars. You know what I mean? And so that's another example of community support. I think it's great because I mean, for me, the Route 66 it means family, it means freedom, it means innovation, it means pop culture. We're taking the Americana route from it because of when we took a look at how much of our current culture today is based on Route 66, it's remarkable. And baseball is part of that too. That's a big part of that. I mean, when you take, I did see that there was some author of a book who drove Route 66 documenting all the sports places, whether it be a stadium or an arena or ballpark or whatever the case is. So there is quite a sports vein along Route 66. I did see where San Bernardino, they've got a minor league team or a farm team of some kind, and they're now called the 66ers down in the Inland Valley there. How is it received by the community? I imagine you had probably some people that, hey, they don't like any change. I mean, they're still upset about New Coke 40 years ago, those types. But how is it being received by the community?
It's interesting that you asked that. Is, I've described it a lot like politics, is that there's a far left and there's a far right, but most people are actually more in the middle of it. And I think, to me, that's the positive. Is that we know that there is going to be some angry people, absolutely, because it's just like what you mentioned, it's going to be change. But I also know that, but if we had maintained it and not tried to grow our stadium and not try to improve our stadium, you'd have a group of people hating us for that. And so, but I think that, again, that far side that hates us, what's been interesting is they've really been online and they've been vocal. And the people have been excited when we opened up like our games where we kind of closed out Hammond's Field and said, hey, these are the last games at Hammond's Field. The support we got from our fans walking in was remarkable. I was worried that our staff was going to get berated on the phone, and our staff said it was the opposite, is that the phone calls they got were actually positive. But what I feel, to me, is the part of with the launch is when we zoom out. And I've gotten a text from a guy in Florida telling me, oh my gosh, I saw you guys did this. We had someone, there's a minor league baseball podcast that was talking about how they thought it was so cool that it could help grow tourism in our community by having everybody work together. And they were very, very complimentary about the corporate partners with Missouri and O'Reilly and Missouri State University and City. It's like they didn't have to have it where it was like their name, attached to it. Is that they were so impressed with it. So I think that the more you zoom out, the more people feel the way you've talked about, where this is a neat addition to Americana, that you've got the sports tie-in with Route 66. And I think it's going to continue to grow. I think that the critics that had they're going to be vocal early, and then it'll change. And I think you're exactly right. Just some people, it doesn't matter what the change is, they just don't like it. And so as it
And
grows,
baseball too. I mean, baseball people are purists. They
the
don't.
100% traditional
They
fans.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. They don't. If you kidding me, they got upset when they took away pinstripes. That kind of
And
stuff. So it can get like
yes,
that.
runners on second base and all the shifting and all that stuff. It's and I think you're probably right. The people who are anti-rule changes were probably the ones that didn't. But overall, I do think that it was a good launch. And something that I think you've talked about was that concept of Americana, with this festival that's hitting Springfield, this national kickoff. Like, different companies bought these really cool birthplace of Route 66 art murals, and Before we even confirmed that we were going to change the name of the stadium, we did buy one of those, and the artist did a wonderful job of creating this really cool um, feature that has, you know, fireworks, that has birds, it has the stadium, it has baseball scenes, and really the thought was that, you know, and now we have this photo op where people can stand next to this really cute, cool Americana art sculpture, and then over their heads behind them is Route 66 Stadium, and you see the towers rising to the side of it. And you know, for us, you know, we are literally one street over from the original Route 66, so it's not like we're 5 miles away. We're one street. And we do think as people want to travel, we are hoping that they want to stop, and that becomes a very iconic photo that you stop by Route 66 Stadium.
Oh, are you kidding me? Not only is it be an iconic stop because of just the sheer size and the, you know, the stadium signage and everything else, but you're talking about a whole new wave of merchandising that you wouldn't have otherwise. I mean, a Route 66 baseball. Are you kidding me? That's that people will buy that because it's different. And people know someone who likes baseball. And so all of a sudden now if you got, you know, just a baseball but slap your Route 66 Stadium logo on there, I mean, you're going to sell more Route 66 Stadium merchandise than you are the Springfield Cardinals probably. And I'm not trying to be mean here, but I mean totally serious, especially during the 100-year anniversary. I mean, you're talking about you could put a Route 66 Stadium logo on the side of a birdhouse and sell it because of the name Cardinals. In my backyard, I've got this cardinal who's either lost his mate or is really horny right now because it won't shut up. He just keep chirping away, you know. And cardinals are normally pretty reclusive out in the wild when humans are around. Uh, well, that's neat. Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
merchandising side, like I'll add it. So I can't tell my parents the stuff I work on because I know that they would be like they'd chirp too much, you know, that they would tell people, and so they were surprised at the launch of this. And what was funny was my mom like, well, what kind of stuff are we going to buy? I would buy a jacket because they've always gone to car shows, and so right away. My mom, who didn't know about it, that was her excitement. Is exactly what we talked about. It wasn't about coming to the stadium. It wasn't a photo op, but hers it turned into, well, what kind of stuff are you going to carry in the team store? And for us that is neat. You know, we were always proud. You're always proud of your main identity, and then minor league teams have these alternate identities. Ours is the Springfield Cashew Chickens, because that kind of connects with our community because the Springfield style cashew chicken was started here. But you're right, this is now going to be that third brand, and when people kind of come to our stadium, it's going to be that choice of whichever one fits them. As you've got this amazing, you know, baseball brand, you've got this kind of quirky city alternate identity, and then you've got this Americana car theme that so many people with that Americana Route 66. So we are excited about the possibilities and to see, you know, what catches on, and to watch in the next year. You know, and it's something on our initial order. It was like, well, I guess we got to get bumper stickers, you know, like, I mean, obviously
Hmm.
with a car, that makes a lot of sense that we got to get bumper stickers. And then it was like, all right, well, if we're gonna do bumper stickers, we might want to get some, like, you know, license plate holders. You know, those are not typical things that you look to order right away when you have a team name, but this part of it is, I'm excited to see where it goes because this is not my expertise, but I do know we did have some fans that was their first question is when can we get gear. So I am curious to see how this goes over, and I have no doubt that the sports community will be watching because this could be a new way that people want to name their stadiums is after something that can connect with their community, not just local but regional and national.
I think of that often because, you know, anamorphic and naming inanimate objects after humans and different things, it does bring a different view to it. And in the science community, they tell people all the time, the scientists, don't name your test rats, don't name your bears, you know, your subjects. You give them a letter number name because you do not want to get any emotional attachment to it. And in North Dakota, Highway 85 on the western side of the state. It's in the, you know, it's oil country, if you will, and it's an artery from basically from I-29 down to the Black Hills, I-94 down to the Black Hills. And if it was not named the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway, I don't know if it would have got a dime during the 90s. And because it has the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway, it's one of the first roads that gets some money because my goodness, if you don't give that patch of concrete money, well, you hate Theodore Roosevelt. That's the psychology behind it. And that's why I like the Route 66 thing, because it's not a person, it's an experience. Route 66 at the end of the day is a national park. That's the thing that just blows my mind, is that it's not a road, it's a national park that happens to have all these little segments of road that make it up, and then it has all this industrial art along the way that makes it this fabulous piece of Americana. And then because of the connectivity, you had small businesses flourish, door-to-door salesmen. Are you kidding me? I could sit outside of your stadium, sell Route 66 merchandise, and make a pretty good living this year because of the way people are going to be traveling through, and just the way that tourism goes. And so I think you guys are going to have a busy. So do you have a baseball team? Can we
Yeah.
talk about? Okay, so see, you do have a baseball team at least. And when does the season start? Has it started?
Oh yeah, we've been going since the beginning of April, and so our season's going to run April through at least mid-September. And I think when you talk that concept of Americana, it's that, yeah, you have this, but you also have the baseball, and I think when you get those worlds, there's a lot of people who those worlds do merge, and we're excited to see that experience happen. I think you're exactly right. Is that it's one thing to go to any XYZ field or stadium or ballpark, but this one, we're hoping gives people a different level of excitement. And honestly, it was a great year that we could introduce apple pie nachos, and it was something that now we've got Route 66 baseball and apple pie nachos. And just it's kind of a fun thing to be able to do. But we hope that it attracts people, not just that have been from Springfield, but other people trying to make travel plans. The way that we've done this, both the style and what we chose as the name of the Route 66 Stadium, we do think it's going to be a big lift for our community. It's going to be fun to see.
Is that a cinnamon crisps along with apple and cheese?
It is an apple pie filling
Yep.
with
Yep.
the whipped cream on top, but then the chips, I'll say more like a sopapilla chip,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
got the cinnamon sugar, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know some of our members here, our Red Access members, they've fallen in love with them already. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's up in my neck of the woods. We have a place called Taco John's.
yeah,
It's like Taco Bell, but it's more of a regional type of, be like Hardee's, if you will.
okay,
And they used to do apple grande, which was like a tostada shell,
okay,
and then they'd take that apple pie filling and put it on top, and heat it up, if you will, and then they'd sprinkle the shredded cheese on top, and then on top of that was kind of that cinnamon sugar. I suppose the tortilla thing, the little pizza, was the cinnamon sugar, like a
yeah.
that type of thing. And so when you said that, I'm going, oh yeah, that would work if you had the chips like that. And oh yeah, because it was a very popular item. They just brought it back a few years ago because of demand. They took it off the market, I suppose. Apple prices in China were too high or something. I'm not sure, but well, that's cool. You got any other neat items you want to mention? Whether it be different walleye fritters or anything like that? You guys.
I think that we've been really trying to up our food experience, and you're exactly. We know that I think a long time the model in baseball was show up if you want to watch baseball, and I think as an entire game, it's adapted, and you understand that the fan experience is from how they buy their tickets online, how they have to park. The baseball is a part of it, but then also what kind of food experience you get, and I think
Mhm.
that has absolutely been something that we've focused on the last several years, is improving our food game. And like last year, we introduced the ice cream nachos, and to me, I look at that as the most people are going to eat at a ball game, they're going to eat dinner, but now it's like, for me, it's like, well, can I get them to also get dessert? And so that's kind of where the apple pie nachos came from, or sorry, the ice cream nachos. We used waffle cone chips. You kind of have the ice cream that's hand scooped, and then either caramel or chocolate syrup to be able to do it. And so the that
You use
food
hand scooped for that, huh?
hand scoop. They
Boy,
hand
you would
scoop
think
it.
that the soft serve would pick up a little bit easier, but okay, all right.
No, it's and they kind of sit there, they wait for it, they
Mm-hmm.
use the chips, and so and again, I think it's that like that experience of eating it instead of just crushing it as fast as you can.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah,
you've noticed it. I mean baseball has gone through a lot of changes from the major league level all the way down to locally here in Minneapolis, right where the Twins are. We've got a protest against the Twins happening where the fans are so upset at the owner that they're trying to outdraw the Twins at the St. Paul Saints, which is one of those, it's not even a minor league team. It's like a Northern League team or whatever they're called now. I think I forget what a lot of the
St. Paul
independent
Saints,
names
they're
are.
AAA.
Oh,
They're
are
they're
they
the AAA
AAA?
team.
Oh, they
Yeah,
are AAA.
yeah,
Okay.
and they are known for having just a wonderful fan experience.
Yes,
And
yes, and that's what
yeah,
I'm saying is that so. And the Red Hawks copied the St. Paul Saints when they went down the path, and same thing where they've got wonderful experience. They tried the hot tub out in the third base line for a while, but they've always had the playground equipment, with the net overhead, so that the kids can always go run around and play that sort of thing. But the one thing that the Red Hawks did, and they're still, I mean, God, they've been around since the '90s. And I don't know if they did this by accident or if they did it on purpose. And their ownership were baseball fans, so they would always put the fan experience first and then work backwards. Cheap hot dogs, cheap peanuts, and variety of food like a fair. That was always like their main, kid friendly, of course. But and I've noticed a lot of the major league ballparks in the last 5 to 10 years have gone down that path too, because St. Paul Saints and the FM Red Hawks, people are like, hey, baseball is baseball. I'm just going to go have some fun and let the kids run around and maybe get it. But the purists, they want their cheap hot dog, they want their peanuts, and they want to put the headphones on, listen to the ball game, and watch it. So that's what I think's really opportunistic right now for baseball is that you can really satisfy everybody as long as you know who the core base is, and that's your purists and that sort of thing. And it sounds like you guys are doing that and now expanding out to more of the county fair folk, if you will, that are going to take in a game here and there. But that's really the new thing, because a lot of corporate sponsors, they give out tickets left and right. And for people, they get a free ticket, they go spend 20, 50, 100 bucks, whatever the case is. And I would imagine with the merchandise now, with Route 66 merchandise, they're going to spend a little bit more because it's the centennial. You've got 250-year anniversary for the country, and all those different things. Are you guys doing anything special this year? Do you have Route 66 Day? Do you got fireworks? Do you got sausage races or anything planned?
all of it. We're excited that we have the Fourth of July game, and so we do a game. Kids can run the bases. We have a musical artist, and then fireworks. And so having the Fourth of July game is for every minor league team. That's one of the best things you can see on your schedule, because people do get that feeling that they just want to be at the ballpark. Like, it just seems natural to be able to do. I think for us this year, getting this launched and started is kind of phase one. And even internally, that's been our discussion. Was phase one, we had to get the signage ordered, the partners are bought in. Now, what is phase two? And really, that's what we're working on right now, is what is that phase two? What kind of traditions around Route 66 Stadium do we want to create? We've joked, do we need a new tagline? I think we kind of said one of them was welcome one, welcome all, rev your engines and play ball. How far with the car theme do we want to go? And I think part of that, though, as much as there's a national component that we are excited about, our fans are local. The bulk of the people who are going to buy tickets are still going to be the people within your market. And so we want to make sure that um, that they're on board with this as we kind of keep moving. And sometimes it's like a good idea that's too fast or too soon blows up in your face. So I think the timing of this is going to be important to make sure that it's a progression and not just a band-aid rip.
When is your next home? Do you got Homestead happening during the
May
festival?
5th. Yeah. So May 5th. And honestly, we're going to get ready to launch a flash sale that we rename the stadium Route 66 Stadium. So get $6.60 tickets.
You haven't
So,
you really haven't advertised it yet?
no, the flash sales you want to do on a shorter time period. So on purpose. So no,
Yeah.
that's actually, I approved the release. So it's going to go out before this weekend to get ready for Tuesday.
Okay.
So, and
Well,
that's just,
make sure you send it to us. We've got
yeah.
we've got a little bit different of an audience. I'm from eastern North Dakota, western Minnesota, and then about 45 miles from the South Dakota border, so kind of in that area. And lot of rivers and lakes, basically, type of a thing. The nearest oil activity was 9 hours from my place. And when the Bakken oil boom started happening in my backyard of North Dakota, I created a company called The Crude Life to cover it as a non-political lifestyle oil and gas. We had a radio show. I wrote for about a dozen magazines and newspapers and, just content creation. It was back then it was called a media company. Now people call us an influencer or a content company. And I'm just like, no. I'm still just kind of a journalist that's trying to figure out a way to make it in today's world. I'm none of these other things. And we cracked the top 100 in iHeart podcasts a few times, and this is all pre-COVID and everything. COVID happened, of course, and everybody and their mother got a podcast, and so now there's such a saturation effect out there. We're so grateful that we had that decade to build this established audience of because we had all these different shale plays going on. We had building the Bakken and making the Marcellus and talking the Taylor and the Permian is percolating. And then we realized, I don't know anything about oil. When it goes down $20, nobody buys anything anymore. Okay, let's just call it The Crude Life. We'll just go with the company name. The parent company name is now in charge instead of $100 oil dreams as a newbie, type of a thing. But the thing that we've noticed is that our audience is very loyal. They're not very active on social media because everybody's trying to get something from them, but they do get our stuff. And
That's
so,
funny.
Yeah, well, it's, how it is. People who talk about how much money they don't have any money.
Yeah. My dad always called them the wannabes.
Exactly. I call them the bartenders. They're going to be doing something and going to be doing this, but they never are taking any steps to get there. But no offense to bartenders. I used to be one. So I would make fun of myself on it. Well, that's great, man. This is fantastic. Double A, St. Louis Cardinals. How far are you from St. Louis?
We're about 3 hours, and then
that's not
part
too
of
bad.
It's awesome. Our fan base, they are Cardinal fans. They love baseball.
How does that work for you though, with Chicago and St. Louis? How does that work? You guys are so close.
Oh yeah, well it's Cardinal fans. I mean, we're Springfield, Missouri, and so Springfield, Missouri, you're more likely to be a Royals fan than a Cubs fan.
Okay.
So right here,
I mixed up my geography. Sorry.
You have to grow up and hate the Cubs, and so I have a whole bunch of baseball ornaments from the Hallmark baseball ornament series, and my young boys even know that the bottom of the tree is reserved for Cubs and cheaters. So that's this is definitely a pro Cardinal. We love our Cardinals area. And I think that's, again, they're just so proud that we're that AA affiliate. And I think it helps create an even more passionate fan base.
I appreciate you correcting me on that, because that's the third time I've mixed up those two cities. And and the thing is, I know the difference, and I'm not trying to it's just kind of mixing up my geography, because you would be west of St. Louis, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Because St. Louis is on the eastern border, and then Kansas City would be more on the western border. Do I got my state right?
Yeah. And then we're kind of a triangle down, kind of between them down lower.
And where my mind was is that back in my publishing day, we did a magazine in Bellevue, Illinois. It's a suburb. Belleville, yes. Belleville. Yes. I got off on the East St. Louis Boulevard. It was Peter King Boulevard.
The only reason I know that, one of my good college friends, good old Michael Wright from Belleville, Illinois.
And it's a very nice community. It's one of the nicer suburbs of the area. And when we did the magazines back then, it was a home magazine, and we would partner with newspapers, and we would utilize the newspaper's distribution system, and they would utilize our nice paper, and leverage the discount. It was a very nice partnership for about 10 years. And the newspaper, their biggest issue is that they were literally 20 minutes from St. Louis, but they were Illinois. And so as much as they had to be Chicago Bears fans, they were 20 minutes from the stadium of St.
Right.
Louis Rams. And so it was a battle, those suburbs, man, it was a battle for the newspapers and the radio and just all the market share. I never even thought of that where you're at, because you're smack dab in the middle. Yeah, you've got people that would probably do the Royals, because that's Kansas City, Missouri. And St. Louis, yeah, okay, I get it, man. I get
Not
it.
as much anymore, though. And I think what happened was about 25 years ago, we were a battleground city. But then
Mm-hmm.
when the Cardinals AA affiliate came to town, then it totally swung where this is Cardinals country.
Yeah.
And both because I think of us, but also that was a time period where the Cardinals had just this glorious stretch of players and championships and all-star games. And so the timing there like really converted this into this city, they are Kansas City Chiefs and they are St. Louis Cardinals. Where I think there's more of a battle is that this is the home of Missouri State University, and so there's this hub, but then there's little offshoots. So that's kind of I'll say the power player is Missouri State University, but then the colleges is where there's probably a little more battle, because you go up by Kansas City and then you got those people that are Jayhawk fans and then people that are more aligned with Missouri. You go over to the Illinois and you've got that St. Louis split with Mizzou versus Illinois and SLU. And so the Missouri, the college fan base is the more split. But here in Springfield, we definitely love our St. Louis Cardinals.
Just to give you an idea, I'm an NDSU graduate. Of course, a lot of rivalries with Missouri State, and NDSU now is going Division One FCS. They just announced in the last year. But when the Red Hawks built their stadium, they built it on NDSU. And in order to get the stadium built, basically, they had to do in the contract that if there was no baseball team there in 25 years, the stadium would be gifted to North Dakota State University. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that was a way for them to advance things. And they, luckily they still have the stadium and everything. And and people thought, boy, that's a gamble. Minor league baseball, that's not affiliated with a team. That's a gamble. That is a gamble, and so they've done a fantastic job. But to give you an idea, college towns are real. It's tough to compete sometimes with the college when that's all they had for a long time. That's it. I mean, we're 3 hours from Minneapolis, and yeah, we're Vikings fans and Twins fans, but we're Bison fans first. You know what I mean? The college takes precedence. So, well, that's great, man. I appreciate this. And what do you want people to walk away from? What is it you guys are contributing this year to the centennial besides, renaming the entire stadium?
just renaming the stadium.
That's all.
The stadium name, I'm really proud of our community. I think when you see this type of public-private partnership and you see a collaboration of 5 groups coming together just to do something cool for your community, it makes me really proud to be from Springfield. And so I think, to me, that's the takeaway that I would want people to know, is that this is a special city. We collaborated to make it happen. We weren't afraid to get outside of the box and do a model that hadn't been done. And do we hope that people stop by to see Route 66 Stadium? The answer is absolutely. We'd love for you to come and watch a Springfield Cardinals game. Get the new cool photo with the art mural and the stadium in the backdrop. We absolutely would love for people to come here, but most importantly, Springfield, Missouri is the birthplace of Route 66, and we're thrilled to have done that 100 years ago, and we're thrilled to launch Route 66 Stadium this year.
Well, the only thing I could come up with was where America's highway meets America's pastime. That was the only thing I could come up with in my head for a slogan for the stadium or a slogan for a T-shirt or something like that, and I could not get off of fix. I'm trying to get your fix on Route 66, and so I'm going, or get your kicks.
Get your hits.
And that's what I was thinking, get your hits at Route 66. And I kept trying to go through what rhymes with kicks, because if something's already been branded for 100 years, why fight that? Start with that and see if you can piggyback off of that momentum and get the easy things done. But what a fun time for you. What a fun time for your creative staff. What a fun time for everybody involved to really get involved with this, and for the players too. for
Yeah.
the players to be a part of this. Are the players enjoying this at all? Because they're trying to make it to the big leagues, but at the same time, they got to be conscious of what's going on,
Yeah,
don't they?
and it's been neat. Last week the stadium was renamed. They got their championship rings from the year before, so it was a heck of a week to be a Springfield Cardinals player. And I think that they are. Even the umpires that were in town, they thought it was so cool that they were the last umpires at Hammons Field. And now the umpires are going to come in. They're going to be excited. They're the first umpires at Route 66 Stadium. The visiting manager thought the same way. When I told our manager about what was going on, he was already wearing a shirt that we had done that was a few years old that was a theme of Route 66 and the Cardinals. So he was absolutely all in on it. So we do hope that they enjoy it, and I think that there's more to come. So like I say, we got through phase one, and now it's time to really look at that growth in phase two.